Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Kirsten Johl-Levitt, and I'm delighted to be your worship leader today. We are grateful to have each and every one of you here today with us and back in our sanctuary for the first time in 18 months. It's kind of miraculous. Usually right now, I'd ask you all to get up and greet each other. And what happens is this amazing cavalcade of hugging and kissing and wonderful greetings of one another. But for right now, I'd ask you to turn in the directions and wave to one another because it's up to us to be welcoming. Oh, thank you so much. We extend a special welcome to Julia Bady, who's providing music for us this morning. What a joy to hear the piano in the sanctuary again. We're so happy to have you here. And also a huge gratitude to Dan Tynan for running all of our service in a hybrid manner. Here we are, we're inaugurating it. Thanks so much, Dan. You can find important announcements about what happens at All Souls Church on our website, uugreenfield.org. There are not any in this week's order of worship, but there are the listings for upcoming Sunday services. I thought it was really important this morning for us to remind ourselves about our church mission. And I've been saving these plaques about our mission downstairs for the day that we came back. At All Souls, our mission is to welcome all who seek fellowship in our liberal religious tradition, to nurture the spiritual well-being of our children and ourselves, to show that people can transcend differences, to nourish and enrich each other in a common spiritual quest, and to provide information and opportunities for members of All Souls and others to act upon issues of injustice and inequity. I invite you to breathe deeply, be present, come into this room, be focused, be at peace. In the words of the Reverend Kathleen McTeague, we come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see communion. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together. Let us take time for quiet reflection as we listen to this morning's prelude. Thank you, Julia. And I invite Rocky Parham to come up and light the chalice as we read together the words in your order of worship. Each morning, we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back. It's a great blessing to have us all in the same room, and it's a great sorrow that we don't get to sing together. But we have little musical interludes to remind us of singing together. This is number 360, Here We Have Gathered. In the spirit of the circle of kinship, let us read together, or responsively, number 729, Ingathering. I'll read the regular print, you read the italics. The winds of summer. You and I and all of us blew about with the winds of summer. Finding rest in the cool stillness of shadows and moving to the slow, heart-struck rhythms which turned the long hours of summer light. Summer is fading backward into memory, and winter waits in snowy brilliance. We have joys and sorrows and hopes to share, questions, things we care about and want to help make better. Today, we are together in gladness, once more the special community that we call our church, a community of all ages that sings its songs, tells its thoughts, asks its questions, and searches together with courage and with love. In June, at the annual meeting, our congregation voted in a new covenant. It is printed in our order of worship. I invite us to read it together now. In this house, we covenant with one another to build our connections on a foundation of love, hope, and faith, to accept responsibility for our individual acts, and to work together to promote equality, justice, and peace, to stand on the side of love, embracing the liberation of oppressed minorities and championing all movements to end discrimination, to communicate with kindness and support, and to serve with compassion and commitment, to listen respectfully and with open mind, and value our diversity as a source of communal strength, to learn together and grow together, generously sharing our time, talents, and treasures, to celebrate the joys of discovery, embracing the fullest measure of our humanity, from the wonder of youth to the wisdom of age, to openly share our laughter and our tears, showing reverence for the divine in all that is. May I have my ushers? Each week in our church, we take up an offering, which gives us an opportunity to exercise the generosity of spirit that supports All Souls and its many ministries. We see this act of giving, of growing more generous in our hearts and in our actions, as essential to our spiritual well-being. For the first time in 18 months, we will receive this morning's offering in person. Okay. Individually and together, we're building a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. Each one of you, by your commitment of time, talent, and treasure, helps to make the grand vision real. This Ingathering prayer is written by Eric Cherry. And about 10 years ago, I took this and created the congregational aspiration that we've replaced with our covenant, how things change and how wonderful it is. Guided by love, secured by hope, and made courageous by faith, we gather together at a moment of beginning. Both learning and teaching, welcoming the injured and healing, ever justice seeking, we bless this church with our love. With pilgrims and seekers, growing children, and as cherished seniors, guided by pillars and leaders, we bless this church with our hope. Praying and resolving, trusting and involving, some settled, some evolving, we bless this church with our faith. Let us receive this ingathering as a gift. May it inspire renewed commitment to our great covenant of love, hope, and faith. May our eyes be open to the opportunities for broad ministry within, throughout, and beyond. May the blessings we come to know through that vision be a blessing to the world. So every year we take our summer off. We don't have services usually. Some of us gather here and there. And then we come back together as a congregation and we bring the waters of our travels. Now, don't worry if you haven't brought your water today. I have water for you. So I'm going to invite you to come up and pour water. I will hold a microphone for you, and I invite you to share a blessing, a goal, a hope, a desire, an invocation for the way that we will be with one another this year. Okay, we'll try it. We'll try it. And if no one else hears you but me, that's okay. The rest of the universe did too. All right, so I think the safest way to do this is just go out and come back this way. And if you're, I'm sorry, this is a little stage directing, I didn't anticipate. If you're with your family, feel free to stick together, and if you're not, try to keep 4 to 6 feet apart, okay? All right. Julia's gonna play music while we do this. Can I have that?
Next year as the river flows. This represents the water from our pond in our house. And my prayer is for us to use a lot of understanding and patience.
Waters from Lake Champlain, and more good times to come.
This water represents water in Laurel Lake where I love to swim. And may this congregation work to build a more diverse, inclusive community in this congregation and in our town.
This water is from my tap, and it has sustained me in many ways.
Water is from the Connecticut River watershed.
Water is Connecticut. I confess I was in Orlando, Florida by car, and I came back with no water. I came back empty-handed or empty-jarred. I look forward to seeing you in the park.
I wish I'd had the presence of mind to collect some water from the beautiful waterfalls that my daughter and I explored, but symbolically, this is what that represents, and my wish is that we keep finding resilient and resourceful ways to keep collaborating.
This represents too much water that I got in my garden this year. Way too much.
This water represents people of New York City that unfortunately can't be here with us this morning.
My wish is that this nation will come together and be able to fight this virus and this hatred. And I just pray that that will come, to be true. Thank you.
May this water represent all of your past, present, and future hopes and desires for ourselves, as individuals, as community, as beloved walkers of the earth. What an absolute joy it is to be able to be in the pulpit. I've been in this building not less than 4 days a week since the pandemic began. But I rarely come up here. It's not the same without all of you. And so here we are. Presto, change-o. Change is inevitable. Here we are. It's been a lot of change in the last 18 months. A lot of really hard change, like having to shelter in place or wearing uncomfortable masks or having vaccines poked in our arms for the betterment of ourselves and each other. Like the senseless murders of people of color, or the arrests and brutality that happen while peaceful activism takes place, or the unemployment, or the waiting for the money to help you actually pay a bill. A lot of horrible things happen. People died. Lots of change. Here we are, one day after the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Something changed for me this week. I actually watched some of the documentary that Spike Lee made. You might not know this, but I was born and raised in New York City, and the towers were erected during my lifetime. When they were completed, I was 10 years old, and I was there months after they started letting people in, way up at the top with a class trip. They were like a miracle. For me, it was amazing to watch them being erected. My father loved architecture. We were always talking about architecture at our tables. It was always happening, and that was present. Look what's happening downtown. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be world record holders. So for me, a big change was to be able to actually watch some of the documentary I'd never been able to. And I have to be honest, I needed my husband's hand for a bunch of it. Because even after 20 years, it felt like yesterday. And then I remembered sitting in this sanctuary. We held a candlelight vigil here. The sanctuary was full. We sang and we cried and we sat in silence here in this room. We worried together. We helped together. And that change in my memory helped me be okay. This last 18 months has been this constant churning and pivoting and upping our ante downstairs to make sure people got fed. And I'm grateful for all that change. We did it. We still do it. You made it through. You have made it through, and you continue to change. We all are doing it. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but hug yourself. Pat yourself on the back. You were able to make it. You're sitting in this sanctuary because you chose community by getting vaccinated. You're sitting in this sanctuary because you're willing to social distance and wear your masks. This is a change. Everybody'd like to go back to the way it was. I would not. I would not. I echo what Jean said. Jean said, I would like this nation to come together and stop. They're not supposed to start till noon. Might be wrong. Oh, yikes. I would like us to step into leadership, each and every one of us, to becoming whole, welcoming, justice-seeking allies. I'd like us to go on a journey together to understand our white privilege and the experience of our Black, Asian, Indigenous, Latinx, which is a really bad way to say it, and every other community of color, and every other community of different religious belief, so that we can create a just and viable world where equality reigns, where equanimity is important to all, and where speaking one's mind is not dangerous, but welcome. That's why I became a Unitarian Universalist, because I have a big mouth. I don't often censor myself. And it was okay for me to say things that would otherwise be unwelcome in places that even my family reside. Here we are able to talk about the difficult. Here we are able to ask questions with curiosity, to clarify, to learn, to journey together. This is change. Today's water, I have to tell you this, today's water communion does not have our ancient water. You know why? It's disappeared. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that change represents our not going back to the status quo. I'll take this water and I'll bottle it, and it'll truly be the water of a new beginning, the water of returning to our home, the water of our looking to discover what's next for us in so many ways that I could not even begin to say what might be. And then next year, we'll rededicate that water with your new travel water. And we'll start again. Change is really an opportunity. As much as we could lean into our disappointment, our dismay, our disgust, our frustration, we also have the opportunity to delight, to envision, to journey, to create, to move forward. The choice is ours, to be stuck or to be fluid. I invite you to take just a moment to think about all the benefits the pandemic brought you. Just a moment. You don't have to say a word. We are here in a hybrid form because of the pandemic. It means that people who are shut in or across the nation somewhere but still love to see what's happening at All Souls can be with us. I all of a sudden could dress from the waist up and be in 12 meetings a day. I also realized that was way too many, which was also a good change. Boundaries work. We learned how to come together in different ways, to solve problems in different ways. We learned how to self-reflect even deeper. As a matter of fact, we had to slow down. And for those of us who had the ability to do that, huge change came. I'll give you one example. It's one that's so not churchy. I have a lot of friends in the restaurant business. A lot. Being the cafe chef, you make lots of collaborations and lots of connections, and my friends in the restaurant business are having trouble getting employees. Most of the local restaurants around here pay better than the $15 an hour minimum wage, right? But they're still having trouble finding employees. So why is that? Well, if you ask someone who doesn't believe in federal assistance, you will hear that it's because they have subsidized pay, so now they can stay home and be lazy, indolent, right? And if you ask someone who might be a $15 an hour wage activist, they'll say, absolutely not. It has to do with the fact that nobody's willing to work for slave wages. There might be a little bit of truth in both of those. I prefer to think that because people were able to have some subsidized earnings, they were able to stay home and figure out what they really wanted to do. What was their bliss? And since I know a whole bunch of the cooks and servers from many local establishments, I can tell you that a lot of them went back to school, decided to change their career paths altogether, decided to advocate for their own personal change. And because we're all part of this interconnected web, the pain that my friends, the restaurant owners, are feeling really is all about the fact that some people have decided to find their bliss. And so, like all things in life, there is a yin and a yang, and there may be balance to be had. So I leave you just with this. Change is the opportunity to do something different. And each time you want to stamp your foot or scream, I invite you to sit with your feeling and then move on to the opportunity. Thank you so much. And you can open to 131 just so you can read the words, and Julia's just going to play one bit of love will guide us. Oh, I didn't ask for Christine and Rocky. You want to do your usual? Now is the time in our service for sharing of joys and sorrows. If you have a sorrow that needs the help of this community to carry it, or a joy so great that you must share it, now is the time. You may share with the congregation. A microphone will be brought to you, or you can light a candle at the sides. There are little, try using that one maybe, in the windows there. This is not a time for political announcements, but we do invite you to share your personal joys and concerns. And our very first joy is to welcome visitors here today. So during this time of joys and sorrows, we invite you to introduce yourself. It's totally not necessary, but we'd love to be able to just say hello to you. Thanks so much. Oh, you can raise a hand if you have one.
Hi, I'm Sandra Boston, and I've heard through Mary McClintock and Community Action that Greenfield may be the recipient of some Afghanistan refugees. So I want to light a candle for all those who the sirens went off in their lives unexpectedly and they had to flee with nothing to carry, and that they may in fact be looking for a home here. And I just feel very blessed that we might have the opportunity to welcome them.
My name is Molly Chambers, and it was a joy for me to be able to go to Washington, D.C. and to visit with all my family. It was so nice after such a long time away from them.
Hi, I'm Rob. It's great to be back live and accompanied by all kinds of celebratory noises. I want to light a candle first of sorrow for the ongoing estrangement between my daughter and her mother. And I want to light a candle of joy that this guy's here with us today. And in addition to Rocky, I want to light a candle of hope for the continued recovery of Link, who had an operation a while back.
Hi, my name's Russ. I want to say I feel disappointed as I was driving over here. I spoke to some of the firefighters from Orange, and I asked them, when are you doing this today? They said, well, we'll be starting at 11, but it's going to be silent. So I'm feeling disappointed that it's not silent for our sakes. I do have a great joy that a couple of friends of mine who live western part of the country that I hadn't seen in years and years came to New England this summer that I got to visit with, which was wonderful. And I guess this is kind of a strange joy. As I was walking home the other day, trying to walk around people, keep distance, I thought of my father, who was born in Boston back in 1911, who's been gone for several years. But in my mind, I asked him, do you remember when the Spanish flu happened when you were a kid? And I heard him say, yeah. And our mother used to say to us, well, I don't want you to get sick and die. So she used to wrap this cloth around our faces. And it sounded so real. I said, what about school? And he said, well, sure we went to school. Then he stopped himself and he said, no, that's right. They didn't let us go to school then. That was it, and that was nice.
I just would like to mention that one of our members, Suzanne Gloxosis, passed away over the last few months, and her memorial service will be next Saturday at 4 o'clock. And I will have available little flyers about an event we're holding, All Souls is sponsoring, and I'll leave them at the door right before that.
people know that my mother, Nancy Buchanan, has not been feeling well for about a month, and we're still not exactly sure why. So if you could hold her in her thoughts and prayers, that would be nice.
I would love to give thanks for my son Max and his partner Christina, who are purchasing their first home. They're moving out of Westchester and up to Kingston, New York. So that's about to happen soon. I want to light a candle of joy for deep gratitude for everyone who helped see me through the last 18 months, especially my husband, David. I want to light a candle of remembrance for my in-laws, Betty and Ralph Levitt, who both would have had birthdays within this week. Dad's yesterday, Mom's next week. Beloved memories of them. I invite you into a time of silent reflection. Oxymoronic as it is. Ignore those, find a place. Oh, I'm not quite ready yet. I gotta, hang on, have a sec. I love you, you're wonderful. Okay, let's raise some energy. If you remember, I love when you share your energy. I'm going to share my energy with you in this prayer. Spirit of community in which we share and find strength and common purpose. We turn our minds and hearts towards one another, seeking to hold in our hearts the recovery of our beloved friends, Link, Rocky, Nancy, and those whose names have not been spoken. We hold in our hearts the healing, strength, and spirit that helps us bring loved ones together. We hold in our hearts the silence that will happen when the procession has gone by. We hold in our hearts the beloved memories of those who have left us. We welcome those who may be coming out of terror into safety and shelter in our United States and perhaps in our beloved community. And we relish our time with family and friends, being able to enjoy one another's company. We hold all these sorrows and joys, spoken and unspoken, in our heart. Let us open our hearts and minds to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. May it be so. Change is inevitable. There's no changing that. May you be able to look at it as an opportunity. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, this day and in the days to come, now and always. Go in peace, create peace, be peace. Thank you.